Hey, what are you doing?
We're still eating here. Why don't you go and get your...
The blacksmith. Do you want something?
Did a horse bolt while you were trying to shoe it? It's certainly not on our plates.
Dale! Quick! Or the goulash will get burnt!
You immediately recognize what the problem is. A chain running over a pulley for positioning the cauldron is detached from its mounting and the cauldron stuck in the fireplace. It's a heavy load and none of the famuli, who feel superior even during kitchen duty, dare do anything. They might burn their fingers, or even get a bit dirty.
It'd be a waste of goulash. And I'm hungry. Here, hold this. Do you remember when you dyed my beard with some magic spell? I had to shave it off.
You stroke your beard, which is unusually short for a dwarf.
Damn it! Ah, it's heavy!
The young human forces through his pursed lips, letting the pot sink a little.
Don't you dare ruin my goulash, boy!
The cook, with beefy forearms, glares at the young man, and after a brief moment, he tries harder. With as much concern in your voice as you can muster, you say,
Oh, no, no, this doesn't look good.
you're pleased to notice he's dripping with sweat.
I'll get you back for this, groundling! You damned freak!
For a moment, you hope the famulus really does raise his hand to you. But then he comes to his senses and leaves the kitchen, his face bright red.
What a pair you are!
The goulash is bubbling in the cauldron. You draw the warm air in through your nose, and the smell makes your mouth start watering. Vegetables, bread, cheese, but the cook is not to be trifled with. Many painful knuckles have taught you that she knows how to handle her heavy wooden spoon, and that she may possibly have eyes in the back of her head.
Do you know what Lot Yonan wants?
The maid gives you an amused look. She has often accused you of making things more complicated than necessary. The beer that is delivered to the vaults is supposed to be the best beer in Idderslane. It's certainly your favourite beer, but you haven't drunk enough other beers to truly know. Of the 200 or so people selected to learn the art of magic under Lot Yonan, there's barely a handful of them you can stand the sight of. You're not at all interested in magic in all its elusiveness and whimsy. You're... Lot Yonan's vaults are equipped with laboratories, a library, and private rooms for the famuli. Together with the forge, the kitchen, and the other utility rooms, it makes up quite an impressive complex. But compared to the court,
Master Lot Yonan, Frala told me you wished to speak with me.
Ah, Tungdil, come in. There is a bag over there in the cupboard. Take it out, please. It contains artifacts belonging to my former famulus Goren. I wish to return them to him. He's in Blacksaddle, 300 miles away.
300 miles? That's a long journey. Who are you going to entrust with this?
I was thinking of you.
Me?
There is no one better to take on this journey. You have acquired much knowledge. You are almost a scholar. You know more than most famuli about Girdlegard and its inhabitants. It is time for you to go out into the world and see it with your own eyes.
With pleasure. What's in the bag?
Magical devices. You better leave the bag closed if you want to avoid any accidents. Dwarves don't really like magic, and magic doesn't like you either.
Vracus gave us so much craftsmanship that there's no space left in our bodies for magic.
strictly speaking, every time you've been too close to magic, it has ended in catastrophe.
Perhaps I'll meet some dwarves on my travels.
Yes, perhaps. But don't hold out too much hope. And be careful who you talk to. Not everyone out there likes dwarves.
Yeah, goblins. They abduct baby dwarves and sell them to magi, from what I've heard.
Not the best bit of business I've ever done. But what was I to do? The Longnoses threatened to throw you into the nearest river. Be on your guard. Look after the bag and don't lose it. May Palandiel be with you. And Varakas too, of course.
I'll set off immediately. I'll see you soon, Lot Yonan.
It would be better to leave Lot Yonan to his work for now. You've already been given an assignment and you should leave as soon as possible. After all, you don't want him...
If I hurry, I might be back in time for Sonia's birthday.
You're longing to see her face when you give her your homemade present.
I wonder if dwarves ask Vrakas for help on long journeys.
The figure on the homemade old... This is where you swung the forge hammer for the first time 30 cycles ago. No one taught you the craft. It was enough for you to watch Lot Yonan's old smith at work. Whenever the work... There are apparently dwarves who have never seen the sky. And you too feel more comfortable when you have rock over your head. If only you didn't long to see more of the world. You're about to dive headlong into your adventure, but then stop yourself.
A journey over 300 miles without provisions and a weapon. I shouldn't forget to think in all my excitement. Hello, Frala.
Hmm?
I've got a present for you.
You take out a symbol of protection that you've carefully made from 3 horseshoe nails.
It's not the finest jewellery in Girdlegard.
One look at Frala's face makes it clear that it doesn't matter. She glows with happiness as she takes the pendant.
For me? But why?
Because you don't see me as an oddity, and you're like a little sister to me.
You could have said, but you settle with a shrug and a crooked smile.
I need provisions for 300 miles.
You're grinning from ear to ear. Finally, you've got the chance to see something of the world.
300? Tungdil, that's no errand. That's an epic journey. Wait, I've got just the right thing. But make sure the cook doesn't see.
I'm going to Blacksaddle to return a few things to a former apprentice in the Magus.
You pocket the rye bread, sausages, and ham. Enough food for the first few days of your journey.
Perhaps I'll even meet some dwarves on the way.
Frala throws you a cautious glance. It's a tricky subject that you can't help but broach.
There aren't dwarves down here. You're the only one in Idaslane, as far as we know.
I know, but I can't just have been born out of a rock. Somewhere in the mountains, I have a clan. Maybe even a family.
Yes. Maybe.
Frala has reminded you more than once that Lot Yonan wrote to the dwarf clans, and none of them were missing a dwarf boy.
I have to go. I've got a long journey ahead of me.
I wish you the blessing of Palandial and Vracus to protect you from all danger on your journey. Here, a talisman. Whenever you look at it, think of me.
Frala winks at you mischievously.
And of getting me a nice present.
There was a time when you could hardly lift the heavy hammer. Now you barely notice it anymore, and it feels like an extension of your arm. Smithing is in your blood.
Nice to see you again, Lotyonen. It must have been an age since we last met face to face.
Nudin, welcome. Please, sit down.
No, thank you, my friend. These are urgent matters, and I don't have much time. You must come to Leos Nudin immediately. The perished land is stirring.
Are you sure? What makes you think that?
I found out about 60 orbits ago, during a visit to the borders. Our magical barriers have weakened and become porous. The Elfar have left their land, and a huge horde of orcs have marched into Girdlegard.
Were you able to strengthen the spell with your magic?
No. I can't repair the damage alone. We need the combined power of the 6. The other 4 are already on their way here, but we need your help too.
I will set off for Parista without delay.
Oh, and as you're coming, could you also take the opportunity to bring back the things that I lent to you?
Of course. I have them already packed in a bag.
Oh, thank you. We'll be expecting you.
Utterly blinded by the sunlight, you squeeze your eyes tightly shut after only a few steps. The time spent underground has made you so sensitive to light that you're forced to seek shelter in the shade of a mighty oak. You reach a small lake by a birchwood. Your feet hurt and your eyes still sting in the unaccustomed sunlight. But a smile spreads across your face nonetheless. You've covered a decent distance on the first day of your big journey. You pitch your camp and lie down to sleep on the hard forest floor. When you awake in the morning, your legs are stiff and achy. Trying not to feel sorry for yourself, you throw your rucksack over your shoulder. You're a dwarf, and dwarves don't complain. Around midday, with the sun high in the sky and the first beads of sweat appearing on your forehead, you see something move next to the road, a few hundred meters ahead. Some crows are pecking at something in the long grass. You survey the grass, the bushes, and the few trees that are growing on both sides of the track. The wind blows through the grass, and the leaves tremble. The pecking of the birds is only interrupted by the occasional fluttering of their wings. Apart from that, you see nothing. The creaking leather armor, the clattering rucksack, and a dwarf's inability to be quiet makes the crows flap around as you move from one bush to another. You give up trying to be stealthy, stand up straight, and see two human bodies in the flattened grass. You don't see any signs of a struggle in the area where the corpses are lying. Were they stabbed by a companion? A stranger could hardly have crept up on them with such sparse cover.
Nothing.
You look down on a tall, broadly built man. He's wearing dark brown leather armor that is strengthened with iron plates. There's a sword lying next to him. Was he trying to defend himself against something? Or someone? There is no blood on the sword. A slender man lies in front of you, dressed in an expensive robe. It is in the colours of Turgur the Fair-Faced, one of the 6 magi. The dead man must be one of Turgur's famuli. You don't see any wounds.
By Vracus.
There are some narrow stab wounds in the man's chest. The cuts are too big to have been made by arrows, but too small for sword wounds. The man has the same incisions. It's clear that both men were killed by the same weapon. But what that weapon might be, you cannot say. A rucksack that probably belonged to one of the dead. It seems to have been searched and then thrown away carelessly. You find a few implements, some provisions, and a map. A route is drawn on it from Parista, Nudin's capital, to Lot-Yonan's vaults. You scour the area once more and ask yourself what to do next. You scour the area once more and ask yourself what to do next. It's time-consuming and strenuous work digging shallow graves in the ground with a stick and covering the corpses with a few stones. But it should at least keep the crows from their feasting for a while. You continue on your way so as to put a few more miles between you and your grisly find before night falls. As the gable end of a small farmhouse and a barn appear from behind a hilltop, you hear the loud cries of children at play. A girl runs along the path laughing, followed by a small boy with a big stick in his hand. The boy is trying to catch up his sister with a determined look on his face, but is finding it difficult to keep his short legs under control on the uneven path. The boy trips and falls to the ground with a bump. Before the girl can reach him to help, he picks himself up and grabs the stick to continue the chase. In doing so, he catches a glimpse of you, and his eyes grow wide. All he manages to say is, "There," as he points towards you with a chubby little finger. Now the girl has turned to face you too. Before you can say a word, she lifts her little brother up into her arms and runs screaming towards the farmhouse. Without rushing, you follow the children to the farmhouse into which they've disappeared. After a few moments, they reappear, accompanied by their parents. Their father is a thick-set man with grey hair.
I am Opatia. This is my wife, Remsa.
The blonde woman nods a greeting almost imperceptibly and clasps her daughter tightly to her. She looks you over with an anxious expression.
It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Tundle.
You try to make your voice sound as harmless as possible.
I'm sorry if I scared your wife and children.
The man waves dismissively.
No. It's just that my fair woman is especially jumpy these days.
The orcs have been spotted near Calmstead. You should take it more seriously.
The farmer's wife clutches her daughter even tighter before the girl finally protests. The boy steps forward excitedly and cuts the air with his stick.
If strangers come, we're supposed to run away, but I can hit them too.
Opatia pats his son on the head, laughing.
We're safe. The orcs have no reason to come so far north.
Over the last few days, have you seen two travellers heading east?
Opatia looks at his wife, but she shakes her head.
Why do you ask?
I found them. Two dead bodies on the side of the road. A good day's march east from here.
Dead bodies?
She hastily covers her son's ears.
Was it orcs?
Remsa, what would orcs be doing up here? It was probably just bandits.
Wouldn't it be better to move to one of the bigger villages if there are orcs around?
The farm is our livelihood. We can't just leave the place. The fields don't look after themselves. King Tilligorn's cavalry will take care of the orcs, or Lord Yonan and his magi.
But the cavalry can't be everywhere at once. Even a handful of orcs would be enough to finish us.
Once the seeds are planted, I'll build the hideaway, just as you wish. But what use is a hideaway if we've nothing to eat in the autumn?
We can't be sure whether the orcs will come here, but what is for certain is that you will starve without a harvest.
That's exactly what I said.
Opatia lays a hand on his wife's shoulder.
Don't worry, I'll build a hideaway as soon as everything else is taken care of.
But
Trust me, even the good dwarf here says it is so. And if anyone knows about orcs, then it's the dwarves.
Remsa nods slowly, then looks towards the ground glumly.
If you say so.
You bid farewell and set off on your way. The children follow you for a while, before saying their goodbyes in laughter and running back towards the farm. You see a flickering light through the trees some way from the path. It might come from a campfire. You walk towards the fire with confident strides until you finally make out 3 broad-shouldered men with axes. 2 rabbits are sizzling over the fire. The men are joking with one another, but you can only understand the odd word. They haven't noticed you yet. You sneak up on the men until a thick branch breaks loudly under your boot. You realize, terrified, that the men's voices have fallen silent. The men jump up and grab their axes.
Who's there?
You stay silent, but the men have already become suspicious.
There's something there.
All three peer into the darkness, and although they haven't seen you, they eventually begin to move in your direction with axes raised. You turn around to take flight. That moment, another man steps out of the shadows and aims his axe at you. You recoil alarmed. You step into the light of the fire, your hands raised in a conciliatory gesture.
My name is Tungdil. I'm only...
Well, I'll be. Is that a groundling?
The men look you over suspiciously.
What's a groundling doing creeping around here? Are you after our gold? I bet you was hoping to slit our throats once we fell asleep, subterranean scum.
Your heart is pounding, and you confront the man a little more courageously than you feel.
I'm no thief, and I'm certainly no murderer. I only wanted to see if...
Pah! All groundlings are thieves and good-for-nothings.
You find it difficult to take control of your voice again.
Have you met many dwarves?
Enough to know that you're all dirty thieves.
The next morning, visions of axes, faces full of hate, fists and heavy boots flicker through your befuddled mind. Your first attempt to move fails when pain shoots through every bone, every muscle, and every nerve in your body. It's a long time before you manage to sit up and tend to your wounds in the early sunlight. There's no trace of the woodcutters. They must have thrown you into the undergrowth near the campfire once they were finished with you. You reach the banks of the Warder and you look at the cold, dark water. The current seems so strong that they could carry off even the most experienced. You once read a legend in a book. Elria, the goddess of water, did not like the children of the forge and cursed the dwarves. so that they would drown in any waters beyond their kingdoms. You call to the nearest fisherman. He looks across at you briefly before turning away and getting back to his work. You leave the peaceful banks of You look down on a large village on the banks of the Warder. Some of the village is built on stilts in the river. A wooden bridge spans the fast-flowing water. A huge wooden palisade has been erected to protect the village from attack. Your eyes roam the land on the other side of the river. You estimate that you will soon have completed half of the journey to Blacksaddle, but you still can't make out the mountain on the horizon. The guards on the palisade are watching you. Their armor looks well cared for and well made. The smith who made them knew what he was doing. You conclude that the men depend on the protection the armor offers. There are small fires burning every 50 steps or so. They are intended to light up the area in front of the palisade and The double gate is made of strong planks, sturdy but still much less solid than the fixed parts of the palisade. Security has been forgone here for practical reasons. Never a good idea when building fortifications.
Orc skulls?
You're not sure it's wise to taunt the beasts with the severed heads of their fellow kind. Some of the guards begin to whisper as you near the gate.
What brings you to fair good water? And have you seen any orcs on your travels, groundling?
The man leaning over the palisade eyes you up and down.
Goodwater is well known for its hospitality.
A fact that you've just made up yourself.
Let me in, and I will tell other travellers all about it.
I regret to inform you that we cannot allow you to enter. The gates stayed closed once night has...
The orc heads on the spears look fresh, a fact that causes you unease for more than one reason.
Those won't scare orcs away.
I hope not. The more orc heads that end up on those spears, the more gold coins that end... Yeah, that's right! We've killed our fair share of orcs and know how to motivate them. Those ugly mugs will...
Two things become clear to you. Firstly, that the mercenaries, the villagers...
Yesterday, we caught a couple of their scouts first. The others tried to take revenge in the evening. Let's see who'll turn up today.
Do you want me to be mauled by the orcs? Let me in.
You're pleased to notice that your voice sounds more accusatory than worried. The free peoples of Girdlegard have always stood side by side. The mercenary seems to weigh up his options, but then shakes his head.
Put a few miles between yourself and us, and then you should be...
I'm a blacksmith. And a dwarf.
The murmuring all around him makes the man pause for a moment. If anyone else had criticized the stronghold, they'd have been laughed down and shooed away. But no one understands defense systems like the dwarves.
A dwarf blacksmith who just happens to be standing...
That's right. I can see to it that orcs crack open their skulls on your gate, just like at home on the High Pass. Skulls that add up to hard cash for you.
You only know about the secondling stronghold from books, but you can see in the man's face you've pushed the right buttons.
All right, then. You can spend the night in the village. You begin work tomorrow morning, and it had better work like you promised.
Of course. It's a trifle.
After a meal, you spend the night in the comfort and shelter of a Goodwater tavern. The next morning, you feel fully refreshed. You strengthen the gate with cross braces of wood and iron, using your experience and skill. Now it should be able to withstand an attack for much longer. Mercenaries and villagers alike watch you work, clearly impressed. As you finish, a man approaches you.
Well done, dwarf. We were right to bring you into our village.
The village grew rich through bridge tolls, and this wealth must be defended.
I've spent almost half an orbit strengthening the gate. How about a bit of compensation?
The council member's face darkens.
We've paid for food and lodgings, and because we're generous, we've also thrown in the bridge toll. Good day, Mr. Dwarf.
An uneasy feeling has been your constant companion since you left Goodwater. Every little sound in the forest makes you fear you've been discovered by a horde of orcs. But you reach the end of the day without bumping into any of the greenskins. It seems as though Vracus has granted you one more day in Girdlegard. As night begins to fall, you pass a large oak tree and decide to call it a day. Near the oak tree is an abandoned camp with a fireplace, which appears to be a couple of days old. You take over the abandoned camp as your own. Whoever slept here before clearly left again without any problems. You see that as a good omen and lie down to sleep. You dream of orcs who creep up on you in the night, and even imagine you can smell the rancid fat of their armor. The stench gets stronger and makes you gag. You force your eyes open and look straight into the face of an orc who is holding a knife to your throat. Before you fully realize the hopelessness of your situation, you feel the blade cutting through your jugular. The last thing you see is a group of orcs baring their teeth coming towards you. Then everything turns black. An uneasy feeling has been your... As night... You swing yourself up the trunk and then pull up your baggage after you. You're prepared to sleep in a tree like a bird if it means escaping the orcs' attentions. You sling your rope twice around your stomach and the trunk of the tree to stop you from falling accidentally. You see North Pass and smell the fresh, icy wind that sweeps over the peaks of Great Blade and Dragon's Tongue. But the harmony is interrupted by the hideous roar. You smell the disgusting green blood of the orcs and taste the rancid fat of their armor on your tongue. The bitter taste becomes strong. You open your eyes and are surprised at the brightness as a glance at the sky confirms that it's still night. Your eyes...
I am Sinthras of Son Balsur. My master, Nod On the Doublefold, ruler of the perished land, has elected you, the lords of Taboribor, to be the sword that conquers the south.
You mean you want us to put our necks on the line and be killed by some magus?
Lord Yonan and the others will be taken care of. Your task is to create a diversion in the south until my master's plan succeeds.
And which of us is the leader?
The one that conquers the most land.
So Kragnar will be the new Grand Lord.
He glares at Ushnots and Bashkug.
The Kragnar Shore tribe will conquer the most land.
Never! We will overwhelm the cities of the Red Bloods quicker than you can set the marrow from a bone.
We shall see.
You can't believe what you're hearing. If the beasts of Tion ride into battle together, catastrophic cycles lie ahead for Girdlegard. The night in the oak tree was the worst of your life. You spent every single moment afraid that you would be found and savaged by the orcs. But as the first rays of sun broke through the treetops, the orcs abandoned their camp and left without discovering you.
Better safe than sorry.
Your eyes scan the deserted camp, and you listen carefully for any noise. You're overcome by the urge to vomit. You have, of course, heard the stories, but seeing with your own eyes that orcs actually do eat humans is a long way from just reading about it.
This is the place. I knew it was here. Come on then, find that stupid necklace. Hey, Fushkar, in front of you. A grounding. Perfect for a spotted breakfast.
You know that you're no warrior, but perhaps you can escape with a...
Oink, oink, little piggies! By Barrowin's beard! How did you manage to lose your weapon? Go and get it, and this time, hold it tight! Hey! That one was mine!
You're just too slow, dear brother.
Too slow? Just wait!
hard!
What is it?
Here, I need help over here! Quickly!
Yeah! Yes?
Huh?
What is it? Too easy! On my way! Too easy!
Yes?
Yeah!
It can't end like this! Huh?
Yeah! Yes?
And again!
What is it?
Yes? Understood. On my way.
And what now?
At once.
Huh? He hardly put up a fight.
Huh?
Yeah! And what now?
They're hitting me pretty hard! I need help over here! Quickly! They're hitting me pretty hard!
I didn't hit you very hard.
Understood.
Too easy.
Attack!
And wow! Another one bites the dust. Yes?
I need help over here! Quickly!
Oh, what bad luck
Yes?
for you! Yeah!
On my way. At once.
Too easy. As good as done. Say goodbye forever. Pow! Another one bites the dust. What is it? Of course. Yes, yes. I'm with you. Who's next?
Huh?
Yeah. And what now? What is it? With pleasure. He hardly put up a fight. Too easy. Yes? Of course. All right, say goodbye forever. Huh? I didn't hit you very hard. Ha ha! Oink oink. That's all. No more orcs. Well fought, young friend. Do you happen to be tongued ill? Well fought? But he fought like a... Boindale, what do you expect? He grew up amongst the humans.
Who are you and how do you know my name?
My name is Boindale Hookhand of the clan of the Swinging Axes. This is my brother Boindale Doubleblade. We've been sent to find you. Call me Ironheart. Are there any more piggy snouts around here?
You turned up at just the right moment. But are you sure it's me you're looking for?
The High King Gundrabor sent us to fetch you and bring you to Ogre's death in the Secondling realm in the south.
So he received the letter from my master? And am I a secondling?
Well, something like that, I guess.
There was a meeting last night. The Elfar serve a certain Nod-On who calls himself Lord of the Perish Land. They have enlisted 3 orc hordes to cause unrest in the south.
Did you hear that, Boindal? Piggy snouts! The Elfar from San Balzur and the orcs from Taboribor are working together?
And could ally with the orcs from the Perish Land.
The twins look at you solemnly. You all know what that would mean for the people of Girdlegard.
Then my family was found and the High King wants to bring me back to my clan.
No, you're not a secondling. You're a fourthling. And you're to...
The High King will tell you all about that once we get to Ogre's death. We should get going.
We've got to...
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say, but it's our duty to get you to the Ogre's Death Fortress in one piece.
I thought the duty of dwarves was to protect the innocent in Girdlegard.
Lot Yonan and King Broron will take care of the orcs. We three must be careful. You're not exactly a warrior.
But he has broad shoulders and broad hands. There's hope for him yet. So when you've got the chance to split a few orc skulls, you should take it.
I would be happy to follow you into the realm of the Secondlings. In truth, there is nothing I would rather do. But first, I must travel to Blacksaddle and return some things to a former famulus of Lot Yonan.
Blacksaddle isn't exactly on our way.
It's on my way. We can head south as soon as I've carried out Lot Yonan's orders.
Well, he's certainly got the stubbornness of a dwarf. Perhaps we'll be able to make a real dwarf of him on the way.
All right, we'll accompany you. The sooner we find that famulus, the quicker we can get back to the mountains.
I'll have to send Lot Yonan a message by carrier pigeon on the way. And if we happen to stumble upon a couple of orcs...
I like you, but we'll have to find you another name. Bolafar. It's about as good as Lipsmith, Paddletosh, or Blufflegrum. It is stupid, senseless, and definitely not a name of honor. What are you good at?
I'm good at reading.
Reading? You're a scholar?
The road leads up a small hill. From the top, you can see a few farmhouses in the distance. There is smoke rising up from the village, and the battle cries of attacking orcs can be heard even this far off.
Yes?
On my way!
As good as done.
With pleasure! Those blasted trumpeters are calling for reinforcements!
Not for long.
What is it? And what now?
Huh?
Vavracus! What is it? Ha ha! Pow! Ha ha! Fights that he hardly put up a fight! What is it? With you! Oh, bad luck for you! I am Bowendaw! Give me a hand! Huh? And again! Let's go. Come here, you! Yes, yes! Ha ha!
Huh?
Kill! End it! Yes?
As good as done.
On my way! Oh, what now? Look for you! Come here, you! I didn't hit you very hard! I am Bowendaw! Give me a hand! Ha ha! Too easy! Yeah! Attack! Huh? All right! With pleasure! And what now? Ha ha!
Yes?
What is it? Yes, yes! Huzzah!
At once.
What is it? On my way! All right! Oh, what bad luck for you! On my way! What is it? Come here, you! Of course! I didn't hit you very hard! Huh? Yes, yes! What is it? Vile creature!
Yes?
Who's next? Of course! Yes, yes! And what now? Come here, you! Forever! Who's next?
No sooner is the battle won than terrified survivors start to venture out of their hiding places. Women with sheets ripped into strips and buckets of hot water take care of the injured. A man with a blood-encrusted arm approaches you.
My name is Malchius. I am... well, I think that I am now the mayor of this village. Without your help, we wouldn't have been able to stop the orcs. I thank you, and regret that we have nothing to offer you as a reward.
The man's contemplative expression brightens.
Unless, if you want to cross the river, we can ferry you. Everyone for miles around will know your names, for we owe our lives to you. Whenever you want to get to the other bank, just let us know.
You thank him politely and spend the night as honored guests in Malchius's house. All evening, people come to the house to give you small gifts and swear eternal thanks. The next day, you depart. First amidst protest, then grateful cheers. You see a light through the trees some way from the path. It inevitably brings to mind your encounter with the woodcutters.
Thinking about it, they do deserve it.
Boindil grins widely, and before Boandal can stop him, he stomps off. You lie awake in your camp and think about the woodcutter's roast that you had for dinner. The rabbit was the best thing you've eaten in a long time. It tasted of victory. The inhabitants of Clute Meadow are busy at work in the village and the surrounding fields. They don't seem too worried about the armies of orcs that are prowling around, or they just don't know about them. By the evening campfire, Boindale rummages around in his rucksack and pulls out a cheese wrapped in a cloth. He sticks a fist-sized piece on a spit and grills it on the fire.
Ah, there's nothing better than grilled cheese at the end of a long day.
The smell it gives off makes you hold your breath.
Oh, it smells like my socks after weeks of marching in my boots.
Oh, picky, are you? Hardly surprising, considering you were brought up by humans. It's ruined your taste.
Boindale holds the stinky cheese at the end of the stick under your nose.
Eat, and stop complaining.
You pull the warm piece of cheese from the stick. It tastes dreadful. Your fingers will smell of it for the next few days, and probably your mouth will too.